Hi, Asking RDC here, and we're going to continue the video breakdown for forming and swimming, and this part we're going to cover the swim part. So I'm going to review this video as it happens, just to let you know what they're doing as they're doing it, and then I'm going to go over suggestions for swimming and also what happens if you do not pass, which they're going to talk about here in this next little pop-up.
I barely passed the swim.
So this is a baseline.
So just real quick before they talk about they're going to talk about important information, but so I don't want to talk over him while he's talking. So as you saw, there was swimmers already in the water. There's professional divers. It's a heated pool. Well, this pool's heated. The other pool they go to afterwards is not heated. But it's a heated pool. It's a controlled environment. There's safeties all around. Lifeguards, if you will. And there's people that are in the water as well. And most of these guys are either like special warfare or they're like search and rescue swimmers, which they're trained to be able to save people in the ocean during a storm with swells and cold water and, bring them back onto the boat and save their life. So heated swimming pool, I think you'll be just fine. You're in a very safe, controlled environment. Also, as you can see here, this guy got pulled to the side with the pole. He failed.
Swim test to just make sure that they have the basic skills required to survive if they were to find themselves in the ocean.
So we walk in and
So, right, this is the big jump that everyone talks about. You have to be able to jump off and swim across. I don't remember the specifics. They go over it more in the CNRC.com for this. You could also talk to your recruiter. They have the specifics as well because this train changed twice while I was in RDC, so it may have changed again. So I don't want to say specifically, but I do know that they still continue to jump off the platform and then a swim across and then a prone float. So you have to be able to just float at ease in the water. And then there's also a part where you have to get into a life raft, jump off again and get a life raft. So I personally am afraid of heights, and this didn't look very tall. And then I climbed up and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of tall. It's not extremely tall. Once again, you're just jumping into water. There's people all around you to make sure you're good to go if you freak out once you get into the water. And just it's more fun than anything than it is scary. But yeah, you're going to have to jump off twice. And if you fail to jump and make it across and you have a problem with jumping the part, if you fail that part, you're going to have to do it again when you have to retake the swim test. So if you have a problem with the jumping, I would suggest once you jump in, make it across. And don't argue with the guy that's up here. Don't start a fight because you could slip, fall, hurt yourself, and then go in, and then you have a real problem. So just, get up there, make the leap of faith. Everything's going to be fine, and just swim across.
see the platform and I was like, okay, 10 feet is not that bad. And then you get up there and you look down and I'm like, whoa, that's 10 feet. Oh, he says, okay, step. And I kind of hesitated, and before I knew it, I was over the edge.
So there's two things. One, obviously you can jump on your own, but two, if you're like, I'm good, but I just need a little push, they'll just they won't shove you off. They kind of like push you a little bit, just kind of more of like a guiding. And I remember when I went through boot camp, I was like, I know how to swim. I was a good swimmer, but I was afraid of heights. And I was getting ready and I was going, and then he gave me a little push, and I was like, okay, let's go. So it is actually a little more motivating than it is like push off and it's like go swim. It's helpful. But yeah, they're not just gonna shove you into the water. It's like she said too, like 10 feet not that bad, and then you get up there and it's like whoa. You gotta also think that it's 10 feet plus. It's 10 feet from your feet, so whatever your height is. So if you're 5 foot, it's 15 feet from where your eyes are. So it seems way higher up than it really is.
So once I finally got out of the pool and made my swim, I was like, okay, great. The worst part is over. And then we go to the other side and we have to jump off again. And I was like, man, why didn't they tell us this before we joined? I would have reconsidered that.
Yeah, but this part's a little easier, as you can see, because they're wearing life vests and they work extremely well. You will be floating. It's more so you just got to jump in, swim to a point, and then get into the life raft. This part's actually pretty easy. And at this point, it's just fun.
But I passed. But he did inform me that I need to take swim lessons.
It doesn't look as high as it is. And it's not the fact that you're like, I'm afraid of heights, but it's the feeling. Yeah, it's the feeling your stomach gets when you drop. You have to hold on.
So what he's getting at is 10 feet isn't very high, but it's long enough that you are completely weightless. And obviously you can't jump 10 feet, so it's a long distance to go if you've never fallen that far before and maybe jumped off a diving board. So if you're afraid of heights or new to swimming, it's just it does feel weird. Also, if you're never ever swum before, I highly suggest going to like a local YMCA or something and getting some swim lessons. They'll talk about it later here, but they say that they do remedial swimming, but they are not giving the full swim lessons that you would get if you were to go pay for them, or free swim lessons you would get, or if a friend could teach you how to swim and give you in depth. They're going to give you enough training just so you can pass. And sometimes that's not good enough for certain people who need a little extra one-on-one that you get from a friend or from an instructor. And then, yeah, you could possibly get kicked out for it.
It's an inflatable boat, and everybody has to get in it one by one, and the water was really cold. But it was quick, it was fast, and I really enjoyed jumping off the tower.
Yeah, that was not fun. I did not enjoy that. Other people said that they loved it. I hope I don't go overboard.
Yeah, so if you're a good swimmer and you're not really afraid of heights, then it's gonna be fun, right? You're not gonna be able to play around. They're gonna tell you, hey, jump in the water, swim across, and then so you have to jump in the water, swim across. Sure, it's nice. It breaks it up, and it actually happens pretty early in training. I believe the first week, so somewhere like 1-3 day of training, and yeah, it's fun if you know how to swim and you like swimming in pools, and it's a nice little break, and it can be fun. Just do exactly what they tell you to do, though, or they could fail you if you and don't mess around. Or it could be boring because you're like, oh, I just jump in the water and I was in it for 5 minutes and I was out. Then great, the point's not for you to have fun. If you do have to have fun along the way, then great. But the important part is that you pass and continue. So for the swimming, so this is first for recruits, and I'll talk about the RDC side. For recruit, if you fail, your RDC will send you to try again, again, and again as many days as they can, up to a certain point of training, of which if you did not pass by then, you will get ASMO'd. Or if you're because there's multiple phases, right? There's the swim, the prone, and then there's like 3 stamps you need to get, and I forget what the third one is. And that was at the time that I was there. So there's 3 parts you have to pass. If you just need to pass that last part, they might send you to a division to where you just go swim every single day, and that's all you do in that division. It's a division of people that can't swim. Then you pass, and they drop you into a division where you were in training or close to it, so that you can graduate. But if you're like you haven't passed anything at all, and you're also given a certain amount of time when you're in that division as well, then that's it. You're out. You have to be able to do the basic swim. They're not looking for Olympic swimmers. They're literally looking at, can you swim to your survival? If you were to jump out of a boat, could you swim to a life raft? If you had to float a little bit while other people are being loaded in, can you float for like 3 minutes? That's it. They're not asking you to do rescue swimming or anything like that. And if you're going to be a rescue swimmer, then hopefully you know how to swim then. That would be a prerequisite for that. You also have to have like a higher class of swimming. So yeah, I would highly recommend that you get some training ahead of time or some lessons, or have a friend take you into a pool and just go over it. Just get at least comfortable enough that you can do the basics and float. That would be miles above being and not being able to swim. If you could just learn to at least be comfortable to float in water and kind of paddle around a little bit, that would be huge. But constantly going every day until you pass means that you might miss things. You might miss PT. You might actually end up missing training. You might miss something that you have to make up with a recruit instead of the RDC one-on-one. So it can affect your training. It could, to the point that you might have to get set back, not only because you're not passing the swim, but because you missed an evolution. So, and as an RDC, you need to be able to send someone to go swim every single day that you can, because on the back of the hard card is where the stamps are whenever they made swimming. If they go and swim and they don't pass, they'll stamp it and say did not pass. So you end up sometimes having to tape on another piece of hard card if they go a lot. But if you ASMO someone for not being able to swim and they only have 2 stamps on there, you didn't really send anyone to go swimming. So they're going to ask you questions. Why did you not support this recruit to go and as many chances to get? Sure, it would be great if they passed in the first time. But your point is to train them, to improve them, to motivate them. And if you don't do that extra legwork to make sure they get the time in to go swim, you're failing the recruit, and you might actually get in trouble for that. It's important that you're giving them as many opportunities possible, and you have to sometimes work a little harder or work around a little extra just to make that work. I mean, that's the job. You're there to train recruits and get them ready for the fleet. And if they're failing a part of the training, even though you're not the one teaching them to swim, you have to at least afford them the opportunity to improve and swim. But yeah, so it's as a recruit, definitely just make sure this is a big one for a lot of people. You'll find yourself being able to motivate yourself to you're like, oh, I'm not good at taking tests. You'll learn how to take tests because all you're gonna do is study, 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 and be around the environment of the things you're being tested on. Oh, hey, no, I couldn't take someone yelling in my face. Honestly, I don't know how people would have an attitude about that. You don't have to worry about people yelling in your face if you're just doing the right thing. No RDC is going to run up to you and yell at you just for funsies. They're going to correct a deficiency. If you're doing the right thing, no one's going to yell at your face. And if you think, oh, no one could yell in my face, but you're going to go join boot camp, why are you joining boot camp? Definitely, or join the military and go to boot camp. I definitely want to do that. So just, these are things where this is a big hurdle for a lot of people. Other things you can find yourself just easily just motivating yourself through mentally, telling yourself, I'll just run 10 seconds faster to pass my PFA. And I've seen it. I've seen a recruit fail the PFA by 30 seconds on the run. And the next day, I just went and ran with them one-on-one, and I just pushed them. And they're like, I was going to throw up. I thought I was going to, I had to go to the bathroom. I was like out of breath the entire time. I thought I was going to pass out. But they did it. They totally made it. They passed the run. They improved by 30 seconds in one day. Because all you need is just a little motivation. But with swimming, you can't motivate your way through that. You need to, if you're not a good swimmer, I highly recommend just going and finding someone to give you lessons. It's a big hurdle for a lot of people, and is a game over if you cannot pass a swim. And then for the running part, don't need to get a gym membership. Just start running, doing push-ups and sit-ups at home. But yeah, that should really help you, and hopefully that answers a lot of the questions you have about the swimming part of boot camp. Leave any comments below if you have any questions. Hooyah Navy!